My name is Rosalie Friss-Ross, and I was raised in the Midwest on the Mississippi River in a little town called Clinton, Iowa. My upbringing was very simple. My parents were very middle class, hardworking, and I have good memories of my childhood in most instances. And we went on family trips in big old cars, you know, Plymouths and Buicks. My junior high, high school, college was all very tolerable, although I was frustrated because I didn't get to go to art school. As a kid, I did a lot of drawing and had a great time with art, and my teacher said, "Oh, you're just like your grandfather. Remember when you're raised in a small town, everybody you bump into you're related to in some way." So I told my mother, and she goes, "Uh-huh, well, okay." So they weren't really great on art being anything really significant. And it wasn't just that I was a girl, because my grandfather suffered from that same discouragement. His father took his drawings and would burn them. He wanted him to be a businessman, so he would take his drawings and toss them out. So we were hardworking people. We needed, the emphasis was that art would not be a remunerative thing. So my mom decided when it came time for college, since I wanted to be an artist and they both said no way, and then I said, "What about archaeology?" Well, archaeology, that was just insane. My mom said, "We're going to see Dr. Norris." That was my orthodontist that she regarded highly, and we're going to talk to him and he'll tell you what you should be. So he said, "You know, dental hygiene is a terrific field for her. She's great with her hands and creative and good with people. That would be a good thing." My mom says, "Great, you're going to be a dental hygienist." So that's what happened. And I enjoyed it. It was fine. I was doing my job, but I still had this longing for art. What I did when I had this longing, you know, there's such poverty in longing for anything. This longing was so deep to really explore my creativity from a soulful place, a really deep place, because I knew I had information inside of me that had to move beyond flower arrangements and decorated house, etc. And what I did was, when I found an artist I admired, I didn't even really know if this was the right thing to do. I just called them up and asked them if they gave lessons and taught. Turns out many of them, that's how they survived. They did teach, so I would take courses from them. And my first mentor was a woman named Esta Cranis James. I was with her for 4 years, actually, that integrating art, creativity, your soulful thoughts, and desires through art media. There's a part of me that feels that going to art school might have changed my approach, my honesty in my art, the integrity in my own authenticity, what I think is authentic, because I had to figure it out. I had to really explore it. I didn't copy anyone especially. I told you I'd started out as a basket maker, so this is part of my learning. This is basket. The reason I got into making them, one, it's a form, it's a pattern that I learned. So it's usually these materials, this container is usually made with natural materials, like in other countries. And also, when I've spent some time in Japan, and Japan is very close to my heart, and a lot of the Japanese belief systems and the way they live their lives. Making pieces like this by hand, your body's involved. It's a dance, so it's you have to be physical. At one point, I studied paper making, and my second mentor was Harriet Germain. She was teaching Western paper making, and I wanted to learn the Japanese way of washi. This material is, I wove little pouches, and it was done with something called looping. That was the technique that I taught myself. And it's actually the fibers from mother-in-law's tongue, or sansevieria. I just took one at a time and made these loops, and then I buried it. This third piece is made with cattails. I again created a pouch. I cooked the cattails in a way that I was left with just fibers, and I wove with those also, just what was left after you let all the soft green stuff move on. And then I again cooked it and pounded it. I knew that cattails was extremely strong. That's why I used all these products. And I also spun paper and made this braid, and just composed a whole environment for it to live in. This was all part of my desire to be an archaeologist and always looking for found objects. Before I got into knotting, I did a fair amount of book arts. This book is all out of paper, and I was learning to cast then. This is all spun paper. Kozo is what it's called. And this is a spirit helper on the cover. So this again is all part of that period that I was using a lot of Native American inspiration. I would say that my proudest moment, fondest memory is the number of years that I had with the incarcerated women and seeing how their lives developed. This is a collection of baskets that I purchased from one of the inmates that I met over the years. The class that I taught in basket making for UCLA was extremely successful. Because it was so successful, it turns out, ironically, that there was an organization that was housed at the UCLA Extension building. And this organization was called Arts Reach. And it was intentionally designed to teach inmates artwork that was provocative, to stimulate their thinking, to educate them. So no matter what art form was taught to them, the artists had to apply, you had to be accepted, and then your curriculum involved, while you were teaching them, to emphasize, the 3 R's, so to speak. Teach them vocabulary so that when they were finished, or when they were with your course, or if they were ever paroled, they had a different language to survive with rather than going back to their old jargon. Arts Reach was exquisite. I was invited to be part of it due to the basket making, to teach them basket art. When you're teaching in a prison, whatever you teach, it needs to be somewhat practical. And it was just really important for them to make objects that had a purpose, because it helped them, and also they would make them for the family and send them to their family members, and their family members would not really appreciate something that was totally abstract. It had to be functional, and they wanted to be accepted and have their families proud of them. I was invited to exhibit with 2 people from Orange County at the museum there, and it was called Individuation. And they wanted me to do more of my torsos. I woke up one morning and realized what I needed to do. I was profoundly affected by the number of children that suffer at adults' bad decisions. I thought, I need to make some strong medicine for this sickness, and I need to commemorate these children, and I need to figure out a way to get people to help me do that. And I thought about the doll metaphor. And I created this beautiful altar and wanted to have these dolls piled up on it. And I knew I couldn't make enough dolls to make it work in time. So I decided, well, I can't do this by myself anyway, the real problem. So I solicited community to help me do that. So they were done with canvas, white canvas, and they would write on them and draw on them. And then I took them and sewed all the parts together, but intentionally left an arm dangling from the shoulder so it could be repaired. It wasn't, nothing was cut. Everything was repairable, which was also
the strength of the piece. We were all going to repair this problem with